Hello everybody. In this video we're going to start talking about polymorphism. So polymorphism in programming means to have many forms. In C# it is applied in two ways. First, it allows for method overloading. Second, it is the ability in inherited classes for a base class to define a functional method, including input parameters, return type, and a body, and then allow a derived class to override that functionality. Now, there are two keywords there, overriding and overloading. Overriding and overloading are two different things. Overriding allows for hiding a base class's function with a derived class's version of the same function, whereas overloading is the creation of many functions with different inputs, different return types, using the same function name. Polymorphism, as it applies to overloading, is also called early binding, or static polymorphism, and is processed at compile time. Let's create a simple example of a class for overloading. Within the class, I'm going to define two methods with the same signature, aka the name, and they're going to have different parameters. Okay? So class overloading examples, and then public int add index int y. Turn x plus y. And then public int add int x int y int z. Return x plus y plus z. As you can see, it's pretty straightforward. The method name is the same, the return type is the same, but the parameters are different between the two implementations. Let's go ahead and see how you would call these. So overloading examples, call it OE, equals new overloading examples. Now, I go ahead and I pull up, using IntelliSense, the add function that is attached to overloading examples. And you'll see here, I get the little arrows next to the information that it has about, that IntelliSense has about overloading examples.add. It says that one of two, so there are two versions of the int overloading examples.add method. Okay? And specifically the overloading examples.add method. The return type and the parameters, as you'll see as we go on, can be different. And if I click this arrow, it's going to show me the different options I have. Now right now it sees that there are two versions. Add with 2 parameters, add with 3 parameters. Looking at these, you can see both return an int. Both go ahead and take the parameters that are passed in and just add them up and return them. Now, because we have a very simple example here, IntelliSense is going to go ahead and see that I give it an int. Well, it still can assume that I want the first version of the method. I give it another int, still assumes I want the first. I put a second comma, and you'll see it goes, okay, you're now trying to give me 3 parameters. So no matter what you end up typing in here next, you must intend to go ahead and use the option for this method that has 3 parameters. Now, as you can see here, when I go to call this method, it gives me the little arrows. It tries to go ahead and help me understand, hey, there is an overload available. However, so long as the method name is the same as the other method implementations, the parameters can vary pretty widely. They don't have to be something as equivalent as 2 ints versus 3 ints. Okay? So let's go ahead and let's add a third option here. Public int add, and I'm going to give it an IEnumerable. Okay? Now, remember, an IEnumerable is just the base concept of a collection. So now I'm saying that this can accept a collection. I'm going to say it should accept a collection of ints. And what I want to do with that collection is take them and call the sum function that is part of IEnumerable. So it's going to take in a collection of integers, sum them all up, and return that sum. Now let's go back up here. If I type in oe.add, you'll now see that there are 3 options, 3 overloads for it. Okay? You've got the third one, which has our 3 ints, the second one, which has our 2 ints, and now the first one, which says I'll take an IEnumerable. So what that would look like is you could say, I'm going to pass you an array of integers, and it finds that perfectly acceptable. No errors. See, it's perfectly fine. It knows, okay, you've passed me a collection of integers. That means you want to use this overload here. Now, as you can see, we went ahead and in all three of these examples, we've changed the parameters. You also, with overloads, can go ahead and change the return type. Scroll a bit more so you can see this. Okay. All I've done here is say this version of the method, this overload, returns a float, and it takes in 2 parameters, both floats, float x, float y. Add those together and return it. If I go ahead to add and comment, you'll now see I have 1 out of 4. And I believe the second one is going to be our floats. Now, let's say that I know what I want. I'm not going to care about IntelliSense. Again, it's just highlighting 1 out of 4 automatically. I say, okay, I want to pass to this 3.5 float, and immediately it goes and says, okay, you've passed me a float. That means you want this overload. And 6 float. And there we go. And that goes ahead and shows you the basic concept of polymorphism as it applies to overloading.